There's something sacred about the things we keep of the dead. A photograph, a letter, a lock of hair. They anchor memory, hold love in place when the soul has already moved on. But sometimes, what clings to an object isn't memory at all. For some, love becomes a tether. For others, a curse. Across time, these relics have passed through countless hands, each leaving an imprint, a trace, a whisper. And within their stillness, something stirs. This is where the veil thins, where devotion turns to haunting. I am for winds, and these are the possessed objects of the dead. There's a rhythm to grief, a sound like thread pulled through cloth, soft, endless, and patient. Some say love can mend the heart, but what happens when the heart refuses to stop sewing? Auburn, Maine, the year was 1892. A set of 6 silver sewing needles, kept in a cracked glass case. They once belonged to Mara Densmore. A reclusive seamstress who lived on the edge of town, known for her exquisite morning gowns. Every widow, every grieving mother, went to Mara. She worked in silence, her hands moving with impossible speed, her eyes dull and sunken, as though she hadn't slept in years. When her daughter Clara died from scarlet fever, Mara locked herself away. The townsfolk said they could still hear the sewing machine at night. Long after the candles went out, the rhythmic hum became legend. Click, stitch, whisper. Click, stitch, whisper. Click, stitch, whisper. Weeks later, the undertaker discovered something unsettling. The burial shrouds Mara delivered were stitched not only with thread, but with hair. Human hair. Black, blonde, grey, each strand woven tight into the seams. And when one widow tried to remove her gown weeks after her husband's funeral, she screamed. The fabric wouldn't come off. It had fused to her skin.
Oh my God, someone help me.
She claimed to hear her husband's voice in the dark, whispering through the stitches.
Come be with me, my love.
In 1937, during renovations of Mara's old cottage, workers found a small wooden chest sealed behind a wall. Inside, 7 needles, blackened with age, still threaded. Each needle was labeled with a name: Clara, Miriam, Ruth, Edith, Grace, Mara. A historian who took them for display later wrote in his notes that he heard a clicking in his office at night, and whispering sounds. The next morning, a long seam appeared down the sleeve of his coat, stitches made of his own hair. He quickly donated the needles to a private collection in Bangor, Maine. But by then, 3 museum staff members had already vanished. All that remained in their desks were single silver needles. Threaded and glinting faintly in the dark. In shadowed halls where whispers thread, the seamstress sews among the dead. Her silver needles, cold and keen, bind more than cloth, they stitch the unseen. Each puncture hums a phantom's sigh, each loop a vow that will not die. Through linen, lace, and mortal skin, she weaves the grief that dwells within. The thread is spun from sorrow's hair, a filament of whispered prayer. Each stitch a tether, soul to seam, a mourning hymn, a half-formed dream. They say she worked till fingers bled, to clothe the silence of the dead. Now those who touch her tools of woe feel ghostly hands that won't let go. In Bangor's vaults they glint and gleam, still sewing through the midnight dream. And if you listen near the case, you'll hear her hum through time and space. Love, once bound, can never sever. The seamstress stitches souls forever. There is a rhythm to grief, a sound like thread pulled through cloth, soft, endless, and patient. Some say love can mend the heart, but what happens when the heart refuses to stop sewing? They say grief is love with nowhere to go. But Mara Densmore found a way. With every stitch, she bound what she could not release, until the thread remembered the heartbeat. And now, somewhere in the dark, her needles still sew. Patiently, quietly, waiting for a new seam to begin. Some say her work never ended, that each whisper through the cloth is another soul she's binding back together. So when you hear the faint hum of a sewing machine in the dark, remember, not all seams were meant to hold. I am for winds, and you've just unraveled another tale from possessed objects of the dead. If you felt the chill tonight, please like, share, and subscribe to keep these haunted stories alive. Until next time, many blessings.